So I'm doing another live for you guys today. We're going to talk about where are all the outlaws at? Where's all the rebels at? Where's all the guys that go against the grain? Where are all those guys at? Because a lot of people nowadays aren't noticing them. They're not finding them. They're not seeing them. They're like, where's all the guys that used to break the conventional norms and do things outside the norm? You used to kind of rebel against the man and everything. They're still out there. You're not seeing them. For the most part, people just want to get along. They want to go on and get along. That's all they want to do. They don't want to create any waves. They don't want to stir anything up. They don't want to get in trouble. They just want to earn a decent wage or not and go home. That's all they want. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that you ought to be allowed to do that. I think you ought to be allowed to do whatever you want, and as long as you're not hurting anybody. And if you are, you better be tough. But my thing is, there used to be more of an outlaw look, more of a rebel look. You should see more people out there doing that kind of thing. You don't that much anymore. But they're out there. They're just working full-time jobs and have families. The image that people have of outlaws and rebels and things like that is obscured from what it really is. I don't think people really understand what rebels and outlaws are, or what they are today. I can't speak for 50 years ago. I can't speak for 30 years ago. I can't speak for 40 years ago. But right now, what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of guys that are going against the grain, but they have full-time jobs, have families, have kids and whatnot. And they just want to do their own thing. They want to be able to do their own thing without somebody cracking down on them. And that's a lot of the problem that we're having nowadays, is you can't do anything. And you might be saying, well, what's anything? Well, in some countries right now, they're making it illegal to wear vests together while you're riding motorcycles. And you might be saying, well, what do you mean? Like, if they consider it colors, which we'll go into that more later, and you're all wearing the same thing, they will consider that gang activity. And now you're not allowed to do that. And people will sit there and they'll be okay with it. And they'll be okay with it because they'll say, well, well, they shouldn't be doing anything bad. They shouldn't be doing this, shouldn't be doing that. You're going to get in trouble if you do something wrong, blah, blah. They're not doing anything wrong. They're literally a bunch of guys riding motorcycles together because they like motorcycles. And then you'll get a couple of bad apples do something, and now it's gang activity. And the reason being, it goes a little bit deeper than what you guys think, but the government does not like it when people don't want to do what they want them to do. That's what it boils down to. If you're riding together like that and you're doing your own thing, you're going against the grain, you're hanging out together, you're a group of people that are together and you're taking notes of situations going on in your lives, and you're putting two and two together and you're deciding that you don't want to do that. Hey, Sean, how's it going? The government doesn't like that. You're not easy to control if guys get in groups. That's been since day one. Since day one, guys in groups are not easy to control. And there's a guy that I like to bring up, because people will say, Well, what makes guys want to do this? What makes guys want to get in groups and hang out together and not hang out with that group? Or what makes guys want to get together and say, this is our area and we want to ride in this area, and we're going to start this club, and we're going to do a basketball team, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and we're only going to hang out with our friends and because we like them and things of that nature. You might be saying, well, what makes people want to do that? What makes guys want to do that? Because girls just want to hang out with everybody and blah, 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 blah. There's a writer that I like. There's an author that I like that you need to look up. And before you say anything, I know his background. I know what he did back in the day for employment. I don't care about that or his orientations. The fact is he wrote good books that he took information from and collaborated in a book, and it makes sense. But there's an author named Jack Donovan, and I don't care if he worships the sun or whatever. But he wrote a couple books, and it was like The Way of Man, Becoming a Barbarian, and something else. I can't remember what the other book was. But anyway, he was talking about in it how men since the beginning of time have liked to get in groups, and they like to get territorial, and it's in our DNA to stick in groups and have my friend Jack Napier has been talking about this group preference, having group preference for a while now. We want to belong to groups. We want to belong to brotherhoods. We want to belong to friends that we can trust and build communities. That's the way we've always wanted to be. And really, our brains are tailored to only knowing about 150 people, I think, at a time. This has been proven a couple of times. But your brain only wants to like really recognize about 150 people at a time, and then it gets to the point where it's like, that's too many people. And the reason being is because a lot of times we can't hold societies together for bigger than that amount of people. It always tends, it's weird, it always tends to kind of break down when you have bigger groups than that. You can't see my hand gestures, but I'm doing hand gestures. So that's where that kind of comes from. But I remember listening to those books on audiobook. I didn't know anything about the guy. I just listened to the books. I liked what he was saying. But it made a lot of sense. And then as I got older, I noticed that every time guys got in groups, somebody wanted to insert themselves in that group and stop them. Whether it be one of them's wives, one of them's girlfriends, the government, another crab in a barrel guy. We'll get to that meaning later, but it's, you know, a guy that likes the social norms, and he will do anything to pull the other guys back into the barrel, so to speak. And street kid, nobody knows what you're talking about. Well, if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't watch, but or listen, you'll get educated. Can you turn off the silly accent? No, I was born with it. Can you get a good accent? Because you don't have a good accent. You should have a good accent like me. But anyway, so every time people try to do that kind of thing, you'll see somebody and kind of insert themselves in there and try to stop it. And it's really telling when people do that kind of thing. But it's not even so much that they're doing anything or doing anything wrong. They're getting in groups and people don't like that. They don't. And I understand, like, if you go to something significant like motorcycle clubs, okay, when you think of motorcycle clubs, what do you think of? What's the first thing out of your head when you think of motorcycle clubs? I know you guys are going to say something silly, but, you know, be serious for a minute. What do you think of when you think of motorcycle clubs? The leather, the loud motorcycles, beards, older dudes, that kind of thing. And so you have that stigma of and there's a lot of people like that. I mean, motorcycle clubs are huge. You don't realize how big of an impact motorcycle clubs have made on the world. There are people in Thailand, Australia, Afghanistan, and other places like that wearing the same club vests as people in California, South Carolina, New York. Is that not crazy? That is insane how big of an impact that makes. And, you know, of course, it's not the same. It's different charters, and we'll go into that and everything. But it's the same main club. And it's crazy. Like, for example, I was watching this channel the other day, and he was saying that there was like, in Las Vegas alone, there was like 200 clubs. 200 clubs? That is an insane amount of clubs. That's a lot. But it's a big area, so I understand. But that's a lot. That's a lot of people. Because a lot of times you have to have a certain amount of members to even start a club. So that's a lot. And we can't really ignore the impact that it makes on the world. And people, you don't notice anything until you notice it. Okay, so if I say, guys, I want you to today, I want you to go out, I want you to tell me how many Toyota Camrys you see. Just tell me how many Toyota Camrys you see. You'll be so surprised that you never noticed how many Toyota Camrys were on the road before you were told to look for them. And that's the same thing that goes with bikers. You'll not even notice how many bikers are on the road until you just start trying to look for them. And then look for guys that are wearing vests with a club name on it. Then it'll be so surprising to you how many people you'll actually see. And I know in certain areas, you may not see as many because of the temperatures and the weather and things like that. Because, you know, I ride all year long, but some people do not. Now, if you're in a club, most of the time you're probably going to be riding all year long because, you know, some clubs require you to ride so often and you got to go to meetings and things like that. But so that's going to be a given. But you'll start noticing them. They're all over. They're everywhere. So we can't really ignore the fact that it's not making an impact. But behind the scenes, some things that I've noticed and things that other YouTubers have pointed out to me is that Murder himself. Nice to see you guys. Hey, sorry. Some things I've noticed is behind the scenes, the authority in the world, the government in the world, has slowly started to crunch down on motorcycle clubs. And I think there's multiple reasons behind it. One, it's an easy scalp. Like if you go after a motorcycle club, nobody's going to stop you. When the police get together and said, okay, we're going to do some kind of case against this club, we're going to watch them for the next year, and we're just going to find any old reason to get them, nobody's going to stop them. Nobody's going to sit there and say, hey, you should probably leave those guys alone. Nobody's going to stop them. Okay, nobody's going to give a rat's behind about that. But if they were sitting there saying, hey, we're going to go after this Girl Scouts troop and we're going to watch them for the next year and we're going to get together and we're going to crack down on them selling cookies illegally without a permit and all this kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. People's going to step in. You wait. People's going to step in and try to stop them. If there was a group of guys that started a club for whatever things whatever interest they like, let's say, basketball or something, and they started wearing matching outfits, and they started showing up to basketball games, and they started playing, blah, 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 and started like a tournament, blah, blah. If the police got together and they wanted to say, we think they're doing illegal activities at these games, we're gonna spend the next year, we're gonna spend hundreds of cops hours on their job, we're gonna spend thousands of dollars, we're gonna surveillance this basketball team of guys, and we're gonna get them for illegal activity, nobody's gonna stop them. Nobody's gonna sit there and say, hey, this is probably a bad use of money. But just in Canada the other day, this is a real case. Now, I know Canada's laws are different from America, so I understand that. They spent a year, watched 40 clubhouses for a year. Now, to have a clubhouse, a lot of times you have to have 5 or more members to start a clubhouse. So we know at least every one of those clubhouses had at least 5 members or more. And they were established clubs, so I'm assuming they had more. They watched these guys for a year. 200 police officers was involved in the actual going out there at the point they thought they had enough evidence and arresting the motorcycle bikers, the guys. 200 cops. We got all this stuff going on with kids, people committing crimes on kids. We got all this trafficking going on. We got all this stuff going on with people coming from other countries and committing crimes and assaulting people and stuff. We're going to decide all that doesn't matter. We're going to go after these bikers. It's these bikers' faults. We need to be going after them. They shouldn't be riding those motorcycles together like that. They're doing something wrong. Guys, motorcycle clubs have been around since the 50s. Some of them even earlier than that. And we decide we're going to go after those guys because it's an easy scalp. It's an easy scalp. Nobody's going to stop them. Everybody gets to pat each other on the back when it's done. We get to get more money come into the departments and stuff because we're cracking down on this kind of stuff. We're doing good. We're showing results. And the cycle just keeps on going. 5 guys get together and put the same vest on. All of a sudden, they're bad. Something's wrong. Something's up. We need to stop those guys. What are they up to? You know what I mean? So anyway, the results of that raid was, now I'm going to go back to the numbers. It was 40 clubs. It's a lot of people. There were 200 cops involved in the actual going out there, not counting the ones that were doing surveillance and stuff like that. You know what they got? Besides getting a steroid pill pressing machine. Now, that's a whole different thing, you know. I guess if you're making your own steroids or whatever. But they got 19 people for having 20 guns. I don't know if you say guns on here or whatever, but they had 19 people had 20 of them. And they called that trafficking. Because if you get together in a group and you're riding motorcycles with colors and they stop you and you have those on you, you're trafficking. That counts as trafficking under the laws. Do you know that? So because you had self-defense on you and you're riding together in a group, all of a sudden you're trafficking. That's how serious this is. This is how serious this is, guys. You think everybody's playing around this kind of, this is how easily it can happen to you. They can just tweak one little law and all of a sudden you're going to jail. Not just for a few years, you're about to do a dime. That's how easy it is. So because each one of them had one on them, they were trafficking. They weren't even the same area. These were 40 clubhouses. So like one of the clubs could have had one of the clubs could have had two or three, another club could have had two or three on them. Trafficking. That's what I'm talking about, guys. That's how easy it is to take your rights away from you. So while you guys are sitting here thinking, you know, it's all great and wonderful and stuff like that, they're slowly taking your rights away from you. They do not want guys in groups without supervision. You need to be supervised because you are not mature enough to be in groups with other guys. You need to be supervised, and what you're doing needs to be watched to make sure you're doing the right thing. That's what they think. How you guys doing today? Y'all being awful quiet in the live chat. Y'all doing all right? What's this button do? Oh, look how pretty I look. I'm so handsome now. Checking all these buttons out here. But tell me what you guys think about that. That's just my my thoughts on it. My first little live stream talking about this kind of stuff. So if you guys hadn't been tuning in, this is the direction I'm going to go with this channel. I've got another channel that I'm going to be starting up soon for a different kind of route with the motorcycles. But let me know what you guys think about this situation, because you might not care at all. But it's pretty funny how once you start seeing the code in the matrix, so to speak, you start seeing the ones and zeros and ones and zeros and zero and zero and one situation going on there. Starts getting a little spooky. Yeah, it's starting to get a little spooky because the motorcycle world and motorcycle culture is really cool. There's a lot of fun stuff to it. If you've ever went out to bike nights or bike weeks and hung out with some of those people, that's some of the funnest things I've ever seen. Like, there's a really good group of people out there that do that kind of thing. And it's something worth checking out. And I don't think that it should go away just because people don't like groups of guys getting together. And I don't think they should be branded certain things just because they don't think the same way you do or do the same things you do. Because there used to be a group of people that thought that way, that thought that anybody that didn't think that way and do what they did was wrong. And we know what happened there. And now here we go again. We're right back in that same situation. Slowly but surely. It's kind of like that slow burn you don't notice, because it just keeps going and going and going. Slowly, they just take a little bit of your rights away, a little bit at a time. And a lot of people are thinking, oh, well, we got so-and-so in office right now, you know, things are different. No, they're not. No. I can tell they're not. It's better in some aspects, yeah. But as far as your rights go and how easy it is to take them away, no. It's not. It's not any better. And it's only going to get worse as long as we're not paying attention. Because the fact that people have to worry about, if I go out with my buddies riding and we're all wearing the same colors, in the same vests. Are we going to get harassed and hassled over it? If I ride out there right now, am I going to get stopped and them start questioning me and harassing me? Probably. And I don't really think that's the way we need to be going. Because once we take away that kind of thing, and guys can't get together in groups and guys can't discuss things and swap notes with each other, where does that leave us? Not in a very good spot. But that's all I got to say on the subject. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I hope you guys like this video. And I'm going to have a lot more coming after that. We're going to talk about a few things. Motorcycle related, society related. I can go into more detail if you guys want me to. I can start doing videos on motorcycle clubs and talking about that kind of thing if that's what you want to talk about. If you have any questions about it, let me know, and I'll talk about it in the next video. They give me some good ideas for videos, so I like that. But, all right, guys, I'll talk to you later. Bye.